Hello everybody, my name is Jacob, I like sports. Welcome back to another edition of JK Sports. Today, I want to talk to you guys about a really good divisional round playoffs we just had, and then with the winners of that, I want to predict who I think is going to be moving on to the Super Bowl. So first off yesterday, or not yesterday, the games of course started on Saturday. The very first game we had was the Green Bay Packers playing the Los Angeles Rams. And from the get-go, it really looked like a mismatch. Now, the obvious difference between the two teams in the quarterback situation, you got Aaron Rodgers going against Jared Goff. And Aaron Rodgers continued to look like the likely league MVP that he's going to be this season. Whereas with Jared Goff didn't necessarily have a bad game. However, it's a lot what we saw from Tua this year as Dolphins fans. We saw from Jared Goff a lot of he can't create. He can't do the extraordinary. He needs to have his system be working, his offensive line be working well, and then of course the wide receivers getting open, which didn't happen as much as they needed to. It was a lot of 5 to 10 yard routes that was just getting to the first down line, whereas Aaron Rodgers has the ability to sling it downfield. And we saw the ability to create big plays as one of the main differences in the two offenses. Now, Cam Akers is the one shining bright that's come out from the end of the season for the Rams. However, that defense has gotten them to where they have been. And unfortunately, if you allow 32 points with your defense and your offense really struggles to create points, it was a mismatch from the get-go. Unfortunately, it wasn't a heavy-weighted fight like we kind of hoped it would be. However, the better team did move on. I'd say with all these games, the better team did win ultimately. The following game that day, the final NBC Sunday night or Saturday night game, the Bills and Ravens, again, better team won. Unfortunately, with the Ravens, it's becoming a lot of the same. Lamar Jackson has the ability to create a wow play every once in a while. Either he'll bust loose like we saw in the Tennessee Titans first round game where he can take the ball, run it for a 45-yard touchdown. However, if you figure out how to hold him at bay, if you figure out how to stifle the run game, similar we saw with Kyler Murray at the end of the season, if you can find a way to make their running numbers less productive, it really alters their passing game. And the Ravens receiving core isn't the strongest in the league. However, Lamar Jackson as a pure thrower is nowhere near amongst the best of the league, and we saw that they couldn't even create a touchdown. They had opportunities. They had the situation where they were goal to go on the 5-yard line, and unfortunately Lamar Jackson doesn't see the safety there. He takes it 101 yards for a touchdown, and that was a real nail in the coffin because it was finally the first drive of the game where they looked legitimately dangerous. They looked like they could have gotten the end zone. They had a few opportunities earlier in the game where they got into the opponent's half and the Bills' half, and they had to settle for field goals. However, because of the windy conditions, very poor day to have the ball in the air, Justin Tucker unprecedentedly missed those 2 field goals. So you look at the inability to score touchdowns, and you look at the inability to convert field goals. A team was really desperate for points, and right when they thought they could get one, could get a touchdown, of course, Lamar Jackson throws that interception. Whereas with the Bills, it was just kind of business as usual. Did not have a running play, I believe, either was it the first half or was it the first quarter? One of the two. They just could not run the ball, and it didn't really matter, though. Because you got Josh Allen, who has took an incredible step up in his game, and hitting Stephon Diggs, hitting his receivers, they proved that they don't really need to run the ball. Now, going past these first 2 rounds, you got to play the Kansas City Chiefs when you got to get the time of possession on your side. Running the ball could be important, so we'll see how that lies with Kansas City versus Buffalo Bills next Sunday. However, against the Ravens, a team that struggles on offense as it is, you don't really have to worry about time of possession. You can afford to eliminate the run aspect of the game. Devin Singletary, as their starting back yesterday, with Zach Moss being injured. Devin Singletary, FAU alum, gotta give the guy some love. However, he's not gonna blow the world away with his running game. So that passing game did need to step up, and it did. Josh Allen had, of course, that touchdown to Stephon Diggs, had the pick six, had a field goal, and they look quite comfortable, especially coming down to the fourth quarter. And we're going to get the matchup 1 versus 2. If I had to guess before the playoffs started, I don't think it'd be any shocker to say that Bills, Chiefs would be the matchup we got. The better team won, and again, the very next day, first game of the day, Chiefs versus Browns, which was certainly the best game of, I'd say, the 4 games, which all 4 games in their own ways were entertaining and fun and good watches. Chiefs versus Browns, I do have a major issue with a part of the game, which ended up being a huge game changer. And I'm sure everybody knows what it is before I even say it. When the Browns were driving at the end of the half and Baker Mayfield gets the ball to Rashad Higgins down to the 5-yard line. He catches it, starting to stumble. He turns, and he reaches out for the pylon, and then Sorensen comes in. May I say, and as everybody else noted too, an illegal hit, helmet-to-helmet hit, causes Higgins to fumble the football, goes into the end zone, goes out of bounds. David Njoku tried to save it, couldn't, went out of bounds, and it's a touchback. I have a major issue with that. And almost in any other instance, if you fumble the ball, it goes out of bounds, it goes back to you. No ifs, ands, or buts. However, if you are in the most important part of the field, where you can score points, help your team, if you're in the most important part of the field and you fumble and it goes out the end of the end zone, it goes to the other team. How does that make any sense? If you want to put it on the 20-yard line and give it back to the team who fumbled it, cool. I'd say, maybe that's still a little weird. However, at least they keep the ball. I would personally give them the ball where they fumbled it. Pretty simple. If it goes in the back of the end zone, it can't be advanced. It can't go backwards. It's in the end zone. It can't really go anywhere. So just give it back to where the guy fumbled it. Put it back on the 1-yard line. Forget the fact that he got hit in the head already, which should have been a personal foul penalty, which would have given the ball right there back on the 1-yard line. But no, fumbles the ball out of the end zone. Chiefs ball. They go down, kick field goal. Really changes the aspect of the momentum of the game. And with Baker Mayfield coming out and throwing an interception on his first or second pass coming out of the break, I'd say everybody thought that was game. Yeah, you got Patrick Mahomes on the 20-yard line, and they can't convert. They go 3 and out, and they go to kick a field goal, and the kicker misses another kick from that same distance, 33 yards. He already missed the extra point on their first drive of the game, and then the same distance misses the field goal, hits the upright. So at that point, you're like, okay, maybe there's a chance. Now the Browns go and score. And did they score? Did they punt it? I don't remember exactly the order of events. However, most important play of the game, past that awful fumble call, which I know is the rule. However, I'm saying the rule should be changed. The next most important play of the game being Patrick Mahomes gets knocked out of the game. And Patrick Mahomes looked like Joe Flacco when Kiko Alonso nearly killed the guy. He starts to stand up and he's just like, whoa. He just starts to collapse. His own knees just start to give from underneath him. His offensive lineman's holding him up. And at that point, you're like, man, this guy doesn't know his cities, and he needs to sit down. And I could be wrong, but he didn't even hit his head that hard. So it may have just been the initial hit was hard enough to rattle his brain around in there. I mean, his face hit the turf. However, it wasn't that hard. So him being knocked out of the game brings the Dolphins legend Chad Henny, our wonderful second-round pick that did nothing for us. Comes in and saves the game. He had that horrific interception, and it was basically an arm punt. It was 3rd down. Ultimately, it could have been worse. However, it kind of just looked like he said, someone has a red jersey over there. Just toss it downfield. Obviously leading to the interception. And the Browns really started to kick. I know for a fact they got a touchdown. I say I know for a fact, and I misremember it. I know they got a touchdown through Kareem Hunt, which brought it down to 5 points. I don't remember exactly, like I said, whether it was through the interception or when all this happened. I don't remember exactly, but I do remember the Browns bringing it to 5 points, and I was convinced. I thought the Browns had it. And at the time, I really wanted the Browns to win. Out of 3 AFC teams that were left at that point, between the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Browns, I would have loved to see the Browns make it to the Super Bowl. And then the Browns get the opportunity with 5 points. They're being down 5 points, and they have the ball. They start to drive, but the offense couldn't kick it into gear. Nick Chubb got stopped on a few run plays. Baker Mayfield missed a few passes, and it ended up being a punt. And then we get down to 3rd and 14. Chad Henny at quarterback. The last thing on any of the minds of the Cleveland Browns was, this guy's going to run it. He's just going to run it. Get close to the first down. But that's exactly what he did. Rolls out to the left. Goes head first into it. Everybody thought it was initially a first down. Tony Romo thought it was initially a first down. Stopped short. And then they go out for the 4th and 1 play, thinking, okay, you got to run this. You got Chad Henny in there. You got to run it. And what do they do? Out route to Tyreek Hill, wins the game. Gutsy play call. Andy Reid, again, he shows not afraid to make big play calls when the game comes down to it. So Chiefs, again, ultimately they are the better team. Chiefs beat the Browns 22-17. And that leads us to the Old Guy Bowl. Tom Brady, Drew Brees. News came out right before the game started that Drew Brees was likely going to retire. Not necessarily after this game, however, this was going to be his last game playing in the Superdome, because no matter who won this game, the home game for the NFC Championship game is going to be played in Lambeau, because the Green Bay Packers are the number 1 seed. And honestly, most of the game, man, I was struggling to stay awake. As some of you, I'm not sure how many of you know, I got COVID currently right now, so my energy level, I don't really have many symptoms. In fact, right now, I'm just as good as normal. I have occasional cough, occasional sneeze. Can't taste or smell, which sucks really badly. However, my energy levels are still a little low, and especially just sitting around in a room all day doesn't really spark a lot of energy. So watching that game wasn't the most. Through 3 quarters, it wasn't the best. Both quarterbacks through 3 quarters had under 150 yards passing. Drew Brees had a couple interceptions at that point. And it wasn't the most entertaining game until, of course, the 4th quarter. Now, we had the Jameis Winston pass that is funny that they stole directly from the Bears. It was exactly the same play where starts with the running back, gives it to the quarterback chucks it deep, except this time they actually caught it for a touchdown. It was wide open. And when that happened, I thought that was going to be a good boost for the Saints to go on and win the game. But the play that really turned them for the worst was that Jared Cook fumble. The offense has started to kick into gear slightly. Michael Thomas didn't get involved in the game at all. However, they got a few good runs off with Alvin Kamara. Drew Brees, while he did have a couple interceptions one interception at that point, wasn't throwing the ball deep, as we all know. Didn't have a 20-yard pass down the field throughout the whole game. However, they were completing passes. They were making runs. They were holding the ball, and Tampa offense wasn't kicking either. That's the main story, because the Tampa offense was horrific. And I can't put this one on Brady. I gotta say everybody else. Mike Evans couldn't get open. He only had 1 reception for that 1 touchdown. Gronk couldn't create separation. Was a non-factor for the whole game. Ronald Jones, while he didn't start, when he was in the game, very limited what his production was. And Chris Godwin was okay. So Brady, even though he has all these names around him, none of the names were playing up to the ability. Was that because they were having a bad game? Maybe. Was that because the Saints' defense is really good? Maybe. Probably. Either way, offense wasn't responding to their normal level of play. However, in the 4th quarter, they got a couple turnovers from Drew Brees' interceptions. We got a few scores in the 4th quarter that ultimately led to the Buccaneers winning the game 30-20, all but likely ending Drew Brees' titled career I say he finishes as a top 5 quarterback of all time. Where within that top 5? I don't know. Gotta have Brady, gotta have Peyton, Marino, Montana. So Brees probably comes out of comfortable 5th place of all-time quarterbacks. Definitely the greatest Saint of all time. Argue greatest Louisiana player in any sport of all time. So he's had a really good career. It's unfortunate to see him go out with like 150 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. However, somebody's got to win. And the winners, like I keep saying, the better team won in every single game. So the first game we're going to have next week, I believe, is the NFC Championship game, which being the Packers against the Buccaneers. And if you guys recall, earlier this year, Buccaneers, they smacked them around 38, I think, to 10, 38-10, 38-14. And we're gonna have to see what we get out of the Buccaneers' weapons, because if they show up like they did this past week in the cold weather of Green Bay, it's gonna be hard for Tom to do it all by himself. Now, he's doing incredible, obviously, for a 43-year-old quarterback, and with his weapons not playing as well as they did last week or yesterday, it was impressive. It was very impressive. However, the Packers are hitting on almost whatever they want to do. Both Aarons, Rodgers, and Jones are hitting their stride. You got the MVP. You got an incredible running back who's going to hit free agency this offseason. Miami Dolphins should be calling him up if we don't plan on drafting anybody. But I do ultimately think the Packers are going to win that game, go on to the Super Bowl. And from the AFC side of things, we really can't know whether Patrick Mahomes is going to play. Now, with the concussion protocol, there's no time frame necessarily for when a player can come back. It really is, hey, there's these 5 steps. You got to pass all 5 steps, and then you're cleared to play. So it depends on how bad this concussion is. If it's a major concussion, he's likely not going to play. We saw he was out of it, and we saw a few years ago when I mentioned the Joe Flacco incident. He missed the very next week, and he was gone out of it. It wasn't just a little rattled like Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson likely would have been able to play this next week. He had the concussion, came out at the end of the game. However, it didn't seem to be too major. But Mahomes, the initial hit, the initial reaction leading me to believe it was a more serious concussion. But we'll see. If he plays, I think the Chiefs win and make it to the Super Bowl. The Bills' running game, or lack of a running game, does concern me. Even though Josh Allen's as good as he is, they don't have the experience. They don't have the running game. The defense has stepped up in the latter half of the year, so we'll see how they do against the Chiefs. And if Chad Henny is playing, I gotta say Bills. We saw what the Chiefs look like. If Patrick Mahomes had gotten injured, let's say the first or second quarter, Browns are winning that game, 100%. Browns are winning that game. But because the fact that it happened in the third quarter, at the end of the third quarter, I believe, there was not enough time on the clock for the Browns offense, which Baker is still quite limited if we're being honest with ourselves. So if Chad Henny is playing, I'm going to say Bills. If Mahomes is playing, I'm going to say Chiefs. However, for the sake of the argument, I'm going to assume Patrick Mahomes is going to play, and I assume the Super Bowl matchup we're going to get is the 2 number 1 seeds, the Green Bay Packers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Please let me know. What did you guys think of this weekend? It was the first 2 weekends. I've been really happy with the games. Haven't been too many boring games. We've had great matchups, great quarterback play. But also, please let me know, who do you think is making it to the Super Bowl? Who do you want to make the Super Bowl? Please, everybody, let me know down in the comments below. Thank you all very much for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.